Are you a woman who is ready to take control of her life and achieve anything she wants? In this podcast, you will find the inspiration and motivation you need to become an empowered and successful woman. Hi, my name is Laura Hearn, and I'm so excited for the new season of the Empowered Modern Woman podcast. This season is for women who are fed up with being held back by society's expectations. We're going to talk about everything from career advice to health and fitness tips to help you live your best life. So if that's something that interests you, make sure to hit subscribe and to tune in every week for each of our new episodes. Hey everyone, we have Andrea Frey today on the Empowered Modern Woman podcast. I am so excited to introduce her to you. She helps busy moms with productivity, and she primarily works with moms with littles, toddlers and preschoolers, but all of her advice and things that she does can kind of go to any busy mom and really helping them with their time management and getting ish done, for the lack of a better word there, in my own words. She's also a freelance writer. She's a Coast Guard wife. She is absolutely amazing. Her company is Sparkle with Grace. And Andrea, I'm so excited that you're here. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. So, we connected through Facebook because everybody these days connects through social media. And, when I learned a little bit more about what you I almost said did and do at the same time. I know how to speak English. And I just really wanted to get to know you better. So thank you so much for donating some of your time today. So glad we were able to figure out a time that works. Long story short, guys, we both have been playing calendar tag because life as a mom of small children and with a spouse in the military can get a little chaotic, can't it, Andrea?
Yes, absolutely. It's actually really nice to work with somebody who really understands the struggle too.
Yes. And, I just know that our listeners are going to be able to get a lot of insight and value from our conversation today because I know you're gonna give it to us real. So for all you moms out there that, like me and probably like all of the rest of us, that kind of struggle with just all the things that are on our to-do list, definitely get in touch with Andrea and pay attention to our conversation today. So let's get to it. So what led you to starting into this field? Because I know you're also a freelance writer. My goodness. But now you're helping busy moms with productivity. So tell me a little about how that journey started.
Yeah, so I started out in the blogging space, and I had kind of like a long journey into entrepreneurship. But the thing is, I really felt called to do what I'm doing now, which is helping busy moms with their business while they're raising little kids, because there's such a pervasive messaging in our culture of like, you should just be happy being a mom, being at home with your kids. You don't need to run a business. You can do that later. Wait till your kids grow up, and all of that kind of mom guilt and honestly mom shaming that I was getting so frustrated with. So I would sign up for a course or follow somebody, and then they would find out that I was a mom and I had at the time a little baby and a toddler. And they would say, oh, maybe you should wait and do this later. And I'm like, I don't want to wait and do this later. I want to do things now. And I know that I can be a better mom when I'm doing things like this that fill my cup in a different way. And so it was just something where I saw this kind of gap in the messaging where so many people were telling moms like me that we couldn't do it. We couldn't be successful in business. And I was like, I can't stand behind this. I'm not going to, and I'm going to take it a step further. So I'm going to prove that I can do it, and I'm going to teach everybody else how to do it too.
That is amazing. And it's 100% true. And that's what led me to this podcast, to doing this, because so many of us women get told, oh, you need to be doing this by this time. And if you haven't accomplished this, if you're not married, if you don't have kids yet, if you haven't gotten this far in your career, this, that, the other, shame, 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 shame. Oh, you're going to stay home with your kids. Oh, you're going to go to work. Like there's literally Like,
You can't win.
you can't win. Exactly. And so many women feel alone, right? Through
Mhm.
this whole journey of womanhood, motherhood, women in business, etc. So finding other like-minded women that want to help others achieve greatness is so refreshing.
Yeah.
So
And
I
for me, it's also important to kind of break some of those stereotypes, because I don't think there's one right way to do this crazy thing. And I think trying to fit into a box is actually holds a lot of us back too.
100,000,000% if that was possible. The number lady in me inside my brain's like, Laura, that's impossible. It's only 100%. But so when it comes to your business and what's most important to you about the core of your business?
So for me, it's really remembering why I'm doing this in the first place. So I just told you I love to help other moms kind of do this whole business thing. But I think what I do and what most of us do is we're doing it because we also want to spend more time with our family, be present with our kids, kind of have the best of both worlds. And I like that is something that is really important to me. And I think it's easy when we're in phases of more intense hustle, especially when you're starting a business and growing, where you feel like you're just working on growing your business all the time. And then you take a step back and like, well, if I'm snapping at my kids for interrupting me, like it's kind of the opposite of what I'm trying to do here. So I try to kind of keep that in mind, because being able to work, run a business from home and be present with my kids is really important to me. Especially I'm a physician assistant by training. So I did the whole, well, 9 to 5, but actually we did 12-hour shifts, gone all the time, miss all the milestones. And I don't want to do that anymore. And so that's also part of what motivates me to really stick with it when things are hard and to help other people. Like there really is another way. It's just not necessarily going to look the same for us who have little kids running around while we're doing it.
Like, I want to hug you if you weren't on the West Coast right now, um, because it's so true. There is no right way.
Yeah.
It's all unique to each individual person. I say this all the time, is that each and every one of us has our own unique definition of success. And the steps to get there is going to be different for every single person. So hearing you say that is like, yes, thank you. I'm not the only crazy person who thinks this.
No, and that's why everything I do, I try to teach in a way of almost like a, I know this is a copyrighted phrase, but like a choose your own adventure. So I give people the tools to help pick your path that's going to help you be successful. Because if I just told you to do what I do, it might not work for your situation. And honestly, being creative is how I've gotten here, because I have been blessed slash cursed with kids who don't take good naps. So I could never be the nap time warrior who just, oh, I have 2 hours during nap time, I can do things. Like my life is so unpredictable chaos all the time. And so a lot of what I do is try to teach people how, like, if I just taught you how to work during nap time and your kid doesn't nap, then I'm not helping you.
Yeah.
So
Useless. Absolutely useless. And it's so true, especially during the times that you have nap time, when you have sleep regressions and they're not, like, you go from having the regular nap to all of a sudden it's missing in action. And you're like,
yep.
that was my sacred time and it's gone right now. And it can cause you to spiral. Like, I remember that, the anxiety of, oh my God, he's not napping and I need to get this done. And I only have an hour and a half. And if he doesn't fall asleep, and like the panic that sets in. So finding skills and strategies to be able to work around that and work with it,
Yeah.
you're a godsend.
Well,
You're
and that's
literally
what
sent from the
also,
angels.
thank you. Well, and that's part of my thing too, is I've never had kids who, so they nap sometimes eventually, but they've never been like, okay, once they go down, I have an hour. My kids could be, 15 minutes, they wake up or something. And so what happened is I used to get paralyzed of, I just put them down. Is it going to be 15 minutes? Is it going to be an hour? Am I going to have 2 hours? I don't know. And then I would spend the time kind of trying to figure out what to do. And then someone would wake up and it would all be ruined. Or the other hand, I'd say, oh, they're only going to sleep for 15 minutes, so I'm not even going to bother. And I wouldn't work. And then they'd sleep for 2 hours. And I spent 2 hours just like wondering when they were going to wake up. So,
I feel that. I feel that deep in my soul. And the fact that you went from being a PA, a physician's assistant, to entrepreneurship is amazing, because I know a lot of people in the medical field. I actually, fun fact about Laura today, you guys. I went to a medical academy for high school. So a lot of my friends from growing up are physicians of some sort in the medical field. And I've seen a lot of them leave the industry, especially with the last couple of years. But the hard work and tenacity that you had to learn through your PA program and by working in the medical field, like, it's not just for the medical field. Like, that's something that translates into business, because you have to put the work in, sometimes for a little to no reward in the beginning. So I think it's beautiful, that you were able to make that transition. And I think that probably really helped you, whether you knew it or not. I firmly believe that your experience in the medical field probably really, really helped you in your business ventures.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't see it in the beginning, but as I've progressed further on, I definitely can see. The one thing that did help me, though, is going through that type of rigorous training really instilled in me, like, I can do hard things and I do hard things. So I think that is one mindset hurdle I know a lot of people struggle with, especially when you're starting a new business. And I feel like what I went through with my training, I've already done that. I knew that was, at the time, I thought that was going to be the hardest thing I ever did. Turns out not true, but it did really help me to, look back, like, I've done these really hard things and I'm going to continue to do them, and I can still grow and thrive no matter what the circumstances.
That's awesome. No, so now with where you are in your business now, and your kids and your family, and the life that being a mother who runs her own business with children, the chaos that it is, because I say that endearingly because that is my life as well. Paint a picture for us. What is your most ideal situation? Where do you want to be in a couple of years? Like, what's your vision for your business?
Yeah. So let me step back and just tell you sort of what my current situation is with kids, because I am not exaggerating when I say it's all chaos. I have an almost 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So anytime I would get to a point in business where I was in a routine and things were coasting, then I'd have a new baby, or I'd have somebody potty training, or I have someone who now has nightmares in the middle of the night. So I've literally been on my toes through this whole journey, like sometimes white knuckling it. But I just say that to illustrate that it's really not like, oh, but her kids are older, or her kids take naps, or things. Like, I've literally, any excuse in the book is what I've lived through. But it's nice because doing all of this has helped me to really set goals of where I do want to bring my business and the family. And right now, if you would have asked me this 2 years ago, where I'm at now would have felt impossible. And so where I want to be in a few years might also sound impossible, but I know now that it is possible. So I want to be at the point where I really am only working a few hours a week. And I don't mean a few, like 2, but like not maybe even just like a day or 2, instead of kind of, I just got out of that working constantly phase. So now I do have hours, and I finally, my business has grown to the point I now can hire somebody to actually hang out with my kids so I can do interviews and Zoom calls. But like I said before, I don't want the business to take over to the point where I'm not seeing my kids because I'm trying to run a business. Like, that doesn't jive well. So for me, it is nice because my kids so my oldest is almost 5. So she is getting much more mature and understanding things. So we talk about what I do all the time. And she was mind blown when she found out it costs money to do things like gymnastics and sports camp and all of that. And so I've been having a lot of really great conversations with her. But part of what I want to say about that is that I'm bringing my kids kind of along on the journey at an age appropriate level. Like my 1-year-old obviously doesn't understand what's going on, but I want them to kind of be invested in the business with me, because I see this as something that I'm doing to build, not just build for me, but for my family. I'm building stable income for them. I want to leave a legacy for them and have, things that they can look up to and be really, really proud to say, like, yeah, my mom helps other moms. My mom runs a business. We get to see her all the time at home, or some stuff like that. So where I want to be is working a little bit less, because I am still in maybe more of a hustle phase, but I do know that that's not how it's going to be forever. I'm really moved way more forward in that aspect. And then I want to be able to live closer to water. So we are total lake people. I'm from Michigan, in the Midwest of the Great Lakes state. So we travel to go to lakes and stuff, but I want to be able to live close enough where we can just, hey, I'm done working. Let's go hang out at the lake today. And things like that. And for them to really never feel, my biggest thing that I work toward is for my kids to never feel like what I'm doing in business is more important than them. I tell them all the time, like, you're the most important thing to me. And my daughter, who's 5 now, she's always like, am I more important than brownies? Am I more important than, and one time she did say, am I more important than your computer? And I was like, yes, absolutely. And when she said that, she didn't say it in an accusing way, or like she felt like she wasn't, but I've made such an effort to make sure she knows, like, she is the most important thing to me, no matter what.
Yeah.
Well, they are my kids.
No. And I love how you're bringing the kids into it. I strive for that as well. My daughter turns 5 next month. My son turns 3 this week.
Oh,
I'm
cool.
having a really hard time with this, that he's turning 3, but I see my son, he goes, I can't talk right now, Mom. And I'm like, well, why can't you talk right now? He's like, I have a call. He pretends to be on the computer, and it's, then I'm like, oh, is that bad of me? I'm like, no, because then I talked to him about it, and he's like, yeah, because you work from home, Mommy. And it's more of them imitating hard work and these positive things. And I have the same discussions about gymnastics and softball and ballet with my almost 5-year-old, and she's like, oh,
yeah,
oh,
right. Yeah. And I do say too, aren't you so lucky? I get to work from home. Some people have households where both parents have to leave every day, and this is so cool. And so I always try to frame it as the benefit of, this is so great. Because one thing that really bothers me is the whole mom guilt thing, where people act like, if you're not spending every waking minute catering to your child and like playing with them endlessly, then you're not a good mom. And like, that just makes me so, I could go on about that all day.
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways. And one of the pluses to working from home, whether it's entrepreneurship or a corporate job, is that your kids kind of get to see you working.
Yeah.
And like, oh, that's what mom does. And even if they're at school or daycare while you're working from home, they get to see, like, that's mom's office right here. And this is what she does in here. It's cool to have it more tangible for the kids. And I think it also allows, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're the productivity lady. It can also help them understand, like, why it's important. Like, right now, like, I need you, please, for the love of, play nicely with your sister over here, because I need to get this done. Because they have more of a tangible, like, oh, she has a call, she's working, because she's helping another mom, she's doing something good. And really tying your kids into your why is so magnificent. And I love that you're so intentional with it, to make it not just like mommy has to work, but like a fun way, so that they truly understand and can resonate with it on their own levels.
Especially because they are the why. So I want to make sure that they feel that too, and they know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, because I feel like, especially in other jobs it could be easier to see. So when I was a PA, like I go to work and I help people, I fix them, they're sick and I help them get better. And that, especially for a kid, is so much easier to understand. So just really kind of bringing them in. And some days it's not all sunshine and roses, obviously, but when we can have rational conversations, I try to do that.
Because you can't always, even as they get older, that's not always possible. And you get rogue visitors and things like that. So really what I've heard from you, Andrea, is that you've been able to really understand like your own passion through all of the like pain and like pressure that was put on you to fit in this box that you never were meant to fit in. And now you're really striving to help other women step out of the dang on box and really live and align with themselves in a manageable way so that they don't get burnt out. They don't just throw in the towel and give up. And it's something that's really close to your heart. And juggling family life and doing the business, it's been a challenge, but it's also been the fuel to your fire. So it's like, if I were to ask you, like, what's been your challenge throughout your business? It's like, well, I have little kids, but also that's the best part, like all at the same time. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the kind of message that I try to get across is the kids aren't like the barrier to the business, and the business isn't the barrier to being a good mom. Like I always tell people, you can be a great mom, you can be a great business owner. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can do both. It looks different than somebody who can, sit down with their steaming hot cup of coffee at their computer and close the door and just work work focused without interruption. Totally different. But there's no one right way to do it. There's no one box that's the only way to be successful.
Amen. Amen to that. Like it's because we see that on social media, right? We see this perfect curation of moms in business wearing, for lack of a better word, like this bougie lifestyle of, dressed to the nines and everything's always perfectly perfect. And I love to click unfollow because it's so important to be authentic and really be true. Because I don't resonate with that perfectly curated life. I love posting reels of my chaos on social media, and I hope other people do. But it's that being relatable and being like, yeah, no, I too, I'm not talking to you from like, I've done it before. Look at all of my perfect prestige. Just like, no.
Yeah.
My crazies are right over there.
Yeah, I can hear mine from behind the door right now. But and that's the thing is I think that it's so important because those perfectly curated feeds make you feel like you're doing something wrong. Like they're managing it, but you don't see what it's taking for them to manage, and so it feels so inaccessible when those are the kinds of people that you're following. And I just, the same as you, like I just want to be real, and I want people to see the chaos and to see the mess and to also see me doing it anyway. Because it would be so easy to say, listen to the people who say, oh, wait till your kids are older. Don't worry about this now. Just focus on being a mom. My least favorite thing to hear from people. Like, because honestly,
so much cringe.
Yeah. But like, if you're passionate, if you truly feel called to running a business, then that does make you a better mom by doing the things that are making you feel fulfilled in a different way. Self-care is not just all about bubble baths and reading books. Like for me, running my business and working is part of my self-care because it lights me up. And that's what I want to also help other people understand.
So many people don't realize that, right? Again, back to social media and the perfectly curated pictures of self-care being a spa day. Now, mind you, I do love me a good spa day. But Same. That's not a regular part of my lifestyle. Being able to edit a bunch of my podcast episodes because I'm a control freak and haven't let that go to someone else yet. And work on certain things is so, it makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel good. And I encourage everyone to find the things in life that make you like sparkle. Like, oh, look, that's the name of your business. And I didn't even mean to do that. Look, I get punny sometimes on my podcast, and you
I love
keep
it.
bringing up mom guilt, and not to be a shameless self plug, but there is an episode of on mom guilt here on the Empowered Modern Woman podcast. So I definitely would encourage anyone that wants a little bit more of a deeper dive into mom guilt to travel back in time to that episode. But I know, Andrea, that you have a lot of really great resources, and you have a membership platform, and you have I think courses and all sorts of different resources. How does a mom, what's some advice that you could give to a mom in the beginning of this entrepreneurship journey so that they can be a little bit more productive? Like, how can they start this journey?
Yeah. So my biggest thing that I like to tell people is to divide your tasks into things that require focus and things that don't require focus. Because one of the biggest mistakes I made in the beginning, and I see a lot of people making, is trying to do the work that you need to focus on while your kids are running around. Is a recipe for disaster. So for me, one of the focus tasks is if I'm writing a blog post, I have to concentrate. And if you interrupt me, I lose my train of thought and I probably snap, and it's not a good situation. But on the other hand, if I'm curating images for blog posts, I don't have to think about that. I just have to click through and do things like that. So really trying to find the things that don't require as much focus, but are necessary steps for your business. So not, responding to comments on social media does not fall under this category of moving your business forward. I'm all about helping people take action, not just procrastinate by posting on Instagram or things like that. So if your business, if that's a big key motivating factor, something that drives business for you, by all means, I'm not telling you not to, but really being intentional about what you're doing and when you're doing it is going to help you start to move the needle forward. So do the things while it is chaos. And if your kids don't actually probably need you, there's no surer way for my kids to need me than for me to open my laptop while I'm sitting there. But if I need to do some stuff that doesn't require that much focus, but it needs to be done, I can pull out my phone, and honestly, they don't know what I'm doing if I'm scrolling aimlessly or if I'm working. So I've started swapping my scrolling time for pulling open the graphics editing app that I use and just putting together a few images to get ready for the next blog post or things like that. And that's made a huge difference, because if somebody interrupts me when I'm doing a task that I don't need to focus that hard on, it's no big deal. I can go help them. I can pick right up where I'm leaving off. But it's that time where you're trying to focus and you keep getting interrupted that it starts that cycle of frustration. And then it leads to the feelings of, what am I even doing? Why do I even bother? Like, this is pointless. Because yeah, it is pointless to try to do a task that you need to focus on when somebody keeps interrupting you. But those aren't the only types of tasks that you need to do anyway. So just being
Doesn't mean it's
intentional.
pointless to do your business. It just means it's pointless to try to do that task right now.
Yes, exactly.
No, that's great. Like, I love that tip. And it's validating for me, because I've been trying to start doing that. Like, with some of like my social media posts and things like that, I can start editing the video to repurpose the video when we're just hanging out and watching TV with the kids, or they're playing outside in the backyard. I can easily do some of the smaller tasks with, but it's not like me creating my entire email thing and redoing copy. Like, it's not that. It's not me analyzing things.
Yes.
So it's helped me to do this as well. So if anyone's struggling with like getting a task done, it might be because you're trying to do the wrong tasks at the wrong time.
Yes. And I do have to put my standard disclaimer in here. Just because I teach people how to use all these little pockets of time throughout their day, I'm never saying that you have to use every single pocket for your business. It's just like anything else, kind of juggling all the things. You have to be intentional. So sometimes I joke with my membership people that, like the dishes can wait. If you have a pocket of time that you can focus, don't do the dishes, work on your business. But on the other hand, some people, if you have a pile of dirty dishes and you just like can't focus because there's clutter or a mess, then it may actually serve you to do that. Or even some actual other self-care activities, things like that. You do have to be mindful of it, and not the fastest way to burn out is if you are trying to work every single time you have a little pocket of uninterrupted time. That's going to lead to just burnout and more resentment. So I don't want that for you either, but you can use the pocket strategically.
No, I love that. Do you utilize like the Pomodoro strategies?
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of Pomodoro, and I'm like the anti-time blocking person, because for me, especially in my phase of life right now, like if I set a time block of 4 hours that I'm going to do something, it's literally never going to happen. But I love the Pomodoro technique because it's almost what I've adapted to what I teach is you get more work done in a shorter amount of time, with the caveat of you have to know what needs to get done first. So that's a whole different conversation. But I like where you can work and kind of go all out for 20, 25 minutes and then take a break. And especially if I'm working when my kids are awake and around, it is nice to just say like, okay, when this timer goes off, then let's chat or tell me all about that thing you just did. And then we can kind of get back into it. So I find it really helpful to actually get stuff done.
I've gotten a lot of feedback about that too, because calendar blocking does not work for me. Like it looks real pretty on the screen, but it doesn't work. I mean, I've tried it in corporate life, entrepreneurship life, but I make excuses, right? We make excuses of like, oh, but I need to get this done right now instead, right? We switch the priorities around because we have this like weird, like calendar, you can't tell me what to do, subconscious level. So that's one of the things that I love about the Pomodoro time. And also with kids around, it gives them this like timer, like, oh, mommy's not just logged in there forever doing work stuff. It's like, no, when this timer goes off, we're going to go to the park. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. But I just need this time right here. You see this timer? When it goes ding, we're good to go.
And I think it helps with personal accountability too, because especially if your work is something that does make you excited and fills you with passion, it can be easy to just want to keep on going. So having the timer does help with the accountability, because I know, okay, I actually really am only going to spend 20 minutes on this. So I need to make these 20 minutes count. I'm not looking at notifications or doing anything else. I'm just going to focus on my task. And then that way it doesn't become like, oh, 1 more minute, 5 more minutes. And the kids are like, when are we going to the park? When are we going? Let's go. It kind of helps set everybody's expectations.
I call it the black hole effect. What we call it in my household is a black hole effect. When you get so focused in on something that you lose track of time.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And now dinner's cold. Now everyone's sitting there getting cranky. And now you're getting mad because someone's checking in on you. I mean, I'm guilty of it. My husband's guilty of it. We're both equally guilty of it. And the Pomodoro technique and timers are lifesavers to be like, no, only this much time. So I absolutely love that. And that kind of goes into you guys in the notes somewhere down here, there's going to be a link so you can get the quarter power hour from Andrea that has a lot of really cool tools on how to be more productive in 15 minutes. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the name of it came from basically 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour, obviously. And somebody had said to me, kind of when I was deciding what I wanted to really be known for, they said, I'm so impressed at how much you can get done in a quarter of an hour. It's like, you know what? That's it. So that's what I do there. I basically have a list of things that you can do, like different tasks, and then also break the tasks down into pieces that you can do in little pockets of time. And then there's a tracker so that you can see the power of those quarter hours. So how, if you do 4 of them, that's an hour. If you really focus on a task for an hour, even if it's not sitting down all at once, you really can move the needle forward and get stuff done. And so that's what that free guide really helps you do, is to get some ideas. So if this whole concept seems really unrelatable or you wouldn't even know where to start, like I help you find where to start, and then also to put it together and actually start to see results. Because honestly, my biggest gripe with productivity and time management advice is it doesn't help if you can't use it in your, if it doesn't fit your situation, or if it's something that sounds good, but it doesn't work for you, then you're not any better off for listening to a productivity expert. So that's why I really try to make it accessible and give enough ideas that no matter what your business is like, or what, even with life, honestly, sometimes I do this with the dishes or laundry. It really helps to get stuff done, to see more productivity in a way that doesn't feel so overwhelming.
Yes, because as a business owner, as a woman, as a mom, there are so many things on our to-do list, like so many things on a to-do. You, even with the best life partner, spouse in the world, there's still all the things that are always running through our minds of the things that need to get done.
Yes.
And all of our brains work differently. So having a tool that kind of gives you different options of like, try this, try that, try this, depending, like you have options to figure out what kind of clicks for you, because there isn't a one size fits all, especially when it comes to productivity.
Exactly. And I do have a bonus tip for the listeners is, so we've mentioned a lot about the to-do list, and we could write to-do lists that are 55 miles long. One of the things that often paralyzes people from actually moving forward or taking action is sitting down. Okay, I have 15 minutes. I sit down and I look at this to-do list that has 55 things on it, and I don't even know where to start. And by the time I sift through all of it, the 15 minutes are over and I did nothing except for get more overwhelmed looking at my to-do list. So I actually have moved away from calling it a to-do list. I call my to-do list my master list. So I have the big long list of everything that needs to be done. And then I pull it apart and I pick 2 to 3 things that are the priorities for the day. And so that really helps to, especially if you are fitting business in along the chaos, it helps to sit down and you know what the priorities are. And those are the things that you work on today. And then you don't waste all the time figuring out where to start. And you're also doing the tasks that actually really make a difference. And I'm trying to see, I can't reach my notebook from here, but I have a page with my master list. And then the next page is just my 3 items, and that's it. And it's so helpful.
That is awesome. And it is so useful to do that. Getting organized in your brain and getting organized in like what needs to get done is directly connected to prioritization. Because without organization, you can't prioritize because you can't see what needs to get done because there's too many things. Yeah. And without taking the time to prioritize items for the day, you're not going to be organized. So these 2 things like work directly together. And if you don't do them, it's going to be chaos. More chaos than it already is.
Right. We're already living with enough chaos. We don't need to create more chaos for ourselves.
Exactly. No, I've loved this. I've loved how real that you've been. I really think everyone's going to get a lot of information, especially from the freebie, the quarter hour power guide, because everyone, I don't care how awesome you are, like getting just a little bit of advice about how to be a little bit more productive.
Right.
Why not?
Exactly. Nobody's going to say, no, thanks. I'm happy not being productive.
Or, oh, there's no way I could be more productive. Like, well, how about we try to be more productive in a healthier way, guys?
Yeah.
Definitely click on the link, get that guide. Also, make sure to follow Andrea. I have all of that stuff listed in the show notes, and keep up with her. She has a lot going on. She also has an amazing membership. She has so much.
Thank
you. I absolutely adore her. We've had some silly moments here on the podcast, but also in real life or in kind of real life, just
real
in
virtual
chats and things like that. She's been saving my butt in group chat. But she is a genuinely awesome person. And definitely thank you so much, Andrea, for your time today. And yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I just love the opportunity to chat with you and with your listeners. And it's this kind of stuff that really fuels my fire too. So I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Empowered Modern Women podcast. Again, your host is me, Laura Hearn, and this podcast is for women who are fed up with being held back by society's expectations. We talk about everything from career advice to health and fitness tips to help you live your best life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit subscribe and leave a review. New episodes come out every single week to help you find the inspiration and motivation you need to become empowered and successful. Be sure to follow us on social media at Money Mindset by Laura.